Major funding for these broadcasts has been provided by grants from Madison Realty Capital, New York Community Bank, M&T Bank, AmTrust Title, Ariel Property Advisors, Customers Bank, Capital One Bank, Meridian Capital Group. Additional funding has been provided by grants from AVR Realty Company, Bank of America Merrill Lynch, Briarwood Organization, CBRE, Citizens Bank, Colliers International NYC, Collins Building Services, CPEX Real Estate Services, Douglaston Development Levin Builders, Flushing Bank, Friedman LLP, Handler Real Estate Organization Handro Properties, Hodges Ward Elliott INC, Investors Bank, James D. Kuhn Real Estate Institute at Syracuse University, John Castamatidis Red Apple Group, Kilroy Architectural Windows, Matone Group, Mercantile Bank, Newmark Knight Frank, Optimum Window Manufacturing Corp., People's United Bank, Rockefeller Group, Rosewood Realty Group, SJP Properties, Stonehenge NYC, TD Bank, Terra CRG, the Merengoff Family Foundation, the Moynihan Organization, Moynihan Capital Partners, and these friends. Co-living? What is co-living? People sharing rooms or apartments? What is this? What is this phenomena? This phenomena has been created a couple years ago, and it's taking place in New York and around the country. So today I've assembled, with the help of Zach, a group of individuals to explain everything you wanted to know about co-living. My guests, they include the guy who's been co-living probably more years than anyone else, Brad Hargreaves, CEO and founder of Common, Zach Ehrlich, CEO of Stoop, Andrew Levin, who is the director of real estate at Ollie, and last but not least, the owner, Albert Dweck, who is the principal at Duke Properties. Since you're the owner and you rent it out, why did you allow co-living? And what is co-living?
So, co-living is shared apartment community created within our building. So we found there was a crisis of affordability where people had to get together and share the rent. As the computers enabled people to be more of in a sharing economy, co-living came up and said, you know, there's a better way to do this because these people are in a community, they are in a shared arrangement. And if we can lean into that, we can provide the services these people need on purpose instead of me just dividing up an apartment.
So I'm going to leave this open to anyone over here to explain. I don't want inside baseball. Explain to my viewer what does it mean to be co-living with someone, okay? Because as I said to Andy and a couple of people earlier when we were meeting in the green room, people have been living and sharing apartments for, let's say, the past 75 years, okay? Now it's become a different type of living concept, okay? Before they'd have a couple of people would rent an apartment, one person would take a lease, okay, one bedroom, another bedroom, and so on. What is co-living today?
You have to start with that premise that people have been doing this for a long time. This is not something that's fundamentally new and different. It's just acknowledging what's already happening and building and operating with that use in mind. We look at Common as keeping the good parts of living with roommates, the social environment and the affordability, but getting rid of as many of the annoyances as we're able to control. You know, what do roommates fight about? They fight about cleaning shared spaces. So we clean all the shared spaces every week. They fight about buying kitchen and bathroom supplies. Who's going to buy the toilet paper this week? So we supply that and 12 other shared goods. So it's really about creating a product that's acknowledging people how people already live, driving down their rental cost, and through that process generating a higher return for the real estate partner.
Who wants to talk about the affordability problem in New York City? Do you?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think there's clearly been an awareness, but now with Share NYC, with this new RFP or RFI, there's now acceptance that there needs to be change, there needs to be innovation, and it's great to see the public go towards the development community, the private community, to try to figure out how can we deliver a better experience to really tackle these issues. And now there's an acceptance of co-living as a way to drive down the price to a level at which is attainable to today's consumer. And what we're doing at Ollie is taking that lower price point, but we're really humanizing housing by delivering a sense of community in different services to our consumers.
What do we mean by a community? Who wants to explain what that means?
I like when you're standing by the elevator in the morning and another tenant walks up, you say hi to them because you know their name. You have a first name basis. We look at it as you have a first name basis with at least a dozen people who live in your building, and you're really friendly with the people who share.
Do you have a
apartment.
shared kitchen?
Often a shared kitchen. We do some co-living. We operate some micro apartments as well that do have private kitchens. That varies based on the city and the jurisdiction, what makes the most sense. But community is at the core. That is, you know your neighbors. It's a friendly, warm environment. There's not some sense of anonymity.
How do we match somebody, okay? You have a son graduating college. He's coming to New York City, okay? He didn't grow up in New York City. He's looking for a place. How do you find an apartment in Zach's property?
For us, a potential user that's looking at space can log online and submit an application for an empty room, empty bedroom. I think you have to kind of rewind and talk a little bit about just sort of the ability to access a more affordable space is quite challenging in the city. So I think what a lot of our users are looking for is access. We're in 16 neighborhoods in New York, and we have a pretty broad range of access of bedrooms that can be rented on demand. And there's a whole set of nuances that we had to sort of go through to structure our leases legally and properly so that we could actually legally allocate a bedroom.
Let's talk about that. There's the management agreement and the leasing agreement. Explain these type of agreements?
So there's a master lease agreement where the co-living operator would sign a lease deal with us where they would just pay us one price, and then they would lease the building and then get anything above what they would pay for the master lease. Leave us with a couple of expenses, usually taxes and insurance. On a management agreement, they would manage the building as the manager. We work usually over a certain threshold that they say, okay, well, this is your baseline of operating expenses and income, typical, and then anything above that, we usually some kind of a revenue share program.
Yeah, we've shifted our model really just to the management agreement side because we're seeing in real time that the lenders, the capital markets really prefer that because it diversifies the risk across all of the residents.
And you're relatively new.
Exactly.
Explain that because I wanted to find out how the lenders are looking at it.
Yeah, so there are a couple of things. First of all, we're totally differentiating the asset and opening up to a much wider audience by delivering a more attainable price point. What we do, though, is we always provide two sets of floor plans, and we show how our high-density optimized plan can flex or convert back to a more traditional footprint, and we've seen that really provide a lot of comfort to the lenders. So when they're thinking about how to underwrite our product type, they don't have to underwrite, call it the 30% more NOI that we're actually anticipating to achieve. They can just underwrite whatever the market rate rent is.
Right, they're looking at the market rate rent as opposed to the higher rent that you're getting because you're putting roommates together.
Yeah, but we're starting to see that actually change.
Yeah. The most important thing to understand from a lending perspective that is a myth out there is that these are short-term residents that you're renting by the bedroom. At the end of the day, we do credit checks on all of our tenants moving in. They're on leases together, 12-month leases. So from a lender's perspective, they're looking at this building. It is a traditional building by anything other than the operating model. And so they can look at that and say, hey, these are 3 creditworthy people on a lease together, 12-month lease.
In essence, to be honest with you, as a lender and an advisor to lenders, I feel more comfortable with you because I have 3 people on the lease as opposed to 1 person on the lease. Here I have the triple.
Yep.
Okay, so I'm in a stronger position. on that situation. I think it's an education process to explain to the lending community, because they're still at the approach. They will lend to you, Albert, the landlord, over there at your market rate rents.
That's correct.
But there are certain lenders who are going to say, I'm not going to do this because, it's renting a bedroom. It's doing a different approach, okay? It's a different type of thing.
We're just delivering leases with joint and several tenants that are qualified,
Yeah.
and the lender looks at that and goes,
It is important, I would note, Albert and Common, we have management agreements, and in a management agreement framework, we're the property manager. So we're not sitting between the owner and the lender, which is really important. And as you said, Andy, kind of has been an evolution of the co-living model away from whole building master leases, which are often poorly perceived by lenders, to a management agreement.
Right. The lending community was really adverse to the single management contract, leasing the entire building out, taking that.
Right.
Even though they could have underwritten the loan at the market rate rents, they didn't look at it that way. In addition, many owners were trying to get a higher amount and said, I want 100% cash out on the deal.
Touching on what Brad said, our residents are all gainfully employed. We're doing 12-month leases, so it looks and smells and feels like a traditional multifamily. And what's ironic is oftentimes some of the lenders that we're speaking to, they actually lived in a very similar type of circumstance that our residents are, but they just still can't get their arms around how to actually underwrite it. But they've been doing it in a non-purpose-built, really inferior type of fashion.
Now, we were talking about this before the show. Certain of the tenants are living in a building that there are, let's say, free market tenants, rent-stabilized tenants, and in certain cases, even affordable tenants based on the components. How is that all working out?
it's working out quite well. We have a deal with, for example, with Zach's company, Stoop. The free market units that we have, it's almost the same concept, and it allows us to reduce our vacancy and offer more to our tenants. And then I think it also enhances the experience
Now,
for the rent stabilized tenants.
how do you take a building and make it a building for Stoop, a Common, or Ollie to have the amenities and the other situation that you may have not had when the building was done over there?
So for what we did with Common as an example, Common, we created a common space in the basement, and we created a common backyard. So when we talked about community before, there's actually a place where everyone can gather. In addition to obviously the kitchen area, whatever the small living room that they have, there is a large.
Andrew's building, the one that they're renting in Long Island City, was built with this plan in action.
That's correct.
To have the shared units.
We
Okay.
built it that way. So Brad's team said, look, we need to have this height of the ceiling and this kind of setup in the backyard. And so we built it with them to those specs and designed it that way. Same we're doing with Zach as well.
We do work on a number of new builds where we have that luxury to get involved early enough where we can actually optimize layouts and plans so that we can add those types of amenities. But a lot of the housing that we wind up operating is existing housing. It's built, it's in the market, and we feel that it can be optimized much better in terms of how it's actually rented.
So do you renovate? I mean,
We do some cosmetic improvements. We don't really get involved in the renovation aspect. We often don't need to. I think the market's deep enough for people that are looking for affordably priced spaces, and it's all about sort of how they're accessing those spaces, which I think, beyond co-living, the similarity in terms of the things we're trying to solve for is that lease, that common.
I want to talk about access in a minute, but I'd rather look at it also. In many cases, over the last 10 years specifically, there have been a number of owner-developers who have bought buildings from some older owners and developers, time transition, and they've taken the one-bedroom apartment and have adapted it to a three-bedroom apartment. Is that happening on many of the units that you have today? Or because what Zach is saying, that there's not really much work done on the apartments?
We got renovate mostly our apartments.
Okay, but do you got to renovate, or do you also increase the number of bedroom units in there?
Sometimes we do. Again, it has to be legally done when we do that to take into account the light and air that's required and to have
Right, I'm
bedroom
saying
size.
basically you have the right of the light and air and so on.
So we do that. As you said earlier, look, there's an affordability crisis in the United States, but certainly in New York City, when the tenants we screen, we make sure that they make 40 times the monthly rent and gross annual income. And put another way, it's 30% of your gross annual income is what should be paid for rent. So, you know, you look at New York City and a guy, you know, is making $50,000 or $40,000 a year, and he can afford $1,000 or $1,250 if he's making. So where do you live? You know, you're working in Midtown. Where do you live? Go on Street Easy. There's 2 million rental apartments in New York City, and 6 come up at $1,250. You know, ideally you want to live alone, right? But you know, and then you say, oh, these areas are cool, they're happening, there are new bars and restaurants opening, and then there's a community to be a part of.
You know, and the consumer you're talking about now is being pushed into what we call the underground housing market. And a lot of those transactions are on Craigslist, where you see typically an inferior quality and a relatively low price point. And you know, we think is that, you know, the underground market gets the community aspect right, but that's really all there is to it. So what we're trying to do is bring that above board, deliver a great, fantastic experience with community, and we're putting community managers in these buildings.
Okay, when you built the building in Long Island City, the units that were planned to be used for the co-living, how were they set up different than the other 2-bedroom or 3-bedroom apartments?
To an extent, yes. You know, there is some more, you know, plumbing. You know, we moved some wet walls, for example, but it's so critical for us to get involved in this project early, so that we can set it up for the flexibility, like I was saying earlier, that delivers comfort to the, you know, the LP capital in the lending community.
We look at it as our minimum bedroom size is 80 square feet. You actually get a major premium going from 80 to 110 square feet. And after that, it really starts trailing off, and you don't really get value for that marginal square foot in the bedroom.
Okay, you have 80 square foot bedroom to 110 square foot bedroom. What about a bathroom? Is it a shared bathroom?
We'll get as close to 1-to-1 bedroom to bathroom as we can. Depends a little bit on market and what is the market norm. We're in 6 cities and we have 21 buildings.
I'm talking more in my local community.
In New York. In New York, you can do some shared bathrooms. So for instance, a 3-bed, 2-bath unit would be pretty typical for us.
Yeah, we try to have, you know, a 2-to-1 bed to bath ratio. 1-to-1's fantastic. It adds hard costs, obviously.
We work with existing inventory, so our ratios, we have specific ratios we'll look at.
Your ratios are one bathroom for 4 rooms.
Our limitations 1 bath for 3 beds, but I think that's actually normal in the market, actually, in terms of room sharing.
Okay, and what about kitchen?
Every space we have is a kitchen, has a shared kitchen.
Yeah, outside of New York we tend to have fairly smaller units. Outside of New York, we'll go up to 12-to-1, 12 people to 1 kitchen. And that actually works very well. And it's a very affordable product too, because you're getting you're amortizing the cost of that kitchen over more people.
Let's talk about the community that we were talking about. Besides the fact that Albert was saying maybe in the basement they have a facility and outside, what other community?
We put a community manager in all of our buildings. It's their job to really, you know, cultivate that sense of community within the building, activate the amenity spaces.
Do they live there like
Yes.
a resident manager?
Yes, yeah, precisely, yeah. It's very much akin to a resident manager. And what we're doing is activating the amenity space with different events that are really focused on the core values of Ollie. When there's, you know, food and beverage, you know, involved, that's fantastic. We're doing different outings, whether it's a, you know, a hiking trip, a ski trip, you know, some sort of wellness like a soul cycle spin class. So, you know, we're always trying to think about new ways to really bring people together, you know, based on a common bond.
We have a head of community. We have a lot of density in specific neighborhoods in New York, and so for us, the neighborhood actually serves as sort of the broader amenity for the specific building. We're going to have a lot of buildings where there are some shared amenity spaces and some that are not going to have that. And so for us, it's actually about also getting people out of the building into the neighborhood, doing outings that are somewhat similar in the neighborhood.
Now, what's the average price based on the different boroughs, okay, for a 1-bedroom apartment in a Common, an Ollie, a Stoop, and an Albert building in a second?
Rule of thumb is an all-inclusive room at Common, and that includes Wi-Fi, utilities, furniture, cleaning, shared supplies. It's going to be about a 20% discount to a studio in the neighborhood.
Okay, get to the point. How much is that dollars and cents?
So in a neighborhood like downtown Brooklyn, a room in Common is going to be a little bit under $2,000 a month, where a studio might be $2,500 a month.
Zach?
Similar, I'd say we're 20 to 25% discount to a studio. You know, in an area like Ridgewood, for example, we're priced a little bit lower than Common. We're probably around a $1,300 to $1,400 per bed price.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And-
of course, it's all relative based on the market, but using
Right,
our
but you-
Long Island City
Your
building.
Long Island City, which is, today Amazon City.
Right.
okay?
Yes. Yes. So the all-inclusive package that we deliver, Wi-Fi, weekly housekeeping, fully furnished units, bath amenities. We're starting our rents around $1,300 a month in our Long Island City project.
Which is much less than what you're talking about. You're talking about 2,000. And
Correct.
Manhattan?
Different neighborhoods, but yes.
And what about Manhattan?
Yeah, our studios in Manhattan are around $2,700 a month.
Okay, so
And again, that's all included. And what we're always trying to do.
and the size of your unit in Manhattan, we heard were 80 to 110 square feet.
So those are bedrooms, right? So our studios in Manhattan they're averaging called 325 square feet.
Okay, but those are studios that one person lives in.
Yeah, we
In
do
the
have some couples, but yes, it's a studio. Everyone has a kitchen and bath. But in Long Island City, it's it's similar. The smallest bedroom has to be by code, I believe about 80 square feet.
Okay, so now my next question, how do you market yourself? How do people distinguish and figure out I want to go to an Ollie or I want to, or a Common or, or Stoop, okay? Because, the big company who thought they were going to become the biggest co-living entity has only one building in New York City, and they haven't been able to accomplish their second plan. How do people learn about you?
Yeah, so we're very much focused on building the brand and building it the right way. So really, reinforcing the core values of Ollie to the consumer and delivering, a more sophisticated design and aesthetic so that we can appeal really to the masses is what we're focused on.
Do you pay the brokers bringing in units?
We have a referral program with brokers. I'd say the commissions are a lot less than what they would have traditionally earned, but it's a way to sort of refer out a client and fit them into a space.
Yeah, demand has just not been an issue for us. We don't work with any brokers. We do all of our own leasing ourselves. We get over 2,000 applicants a week for around 1,000 rooms under management.
So here's the question for the owner over here. You're constantly looking and trying to buy new buildings. Are you planning to run them yourself, or do you like having the operation of utilizing, Common, Stoop, Ollie?
Today we have great experiences with Common and Stoop.
So let's say hypothetically you found two new buildings in Brooklyn, okay? Somebody's buying, somebody's trying to exercise to put money in an opportunity zone or something like that. What would you do?
We call these guys up, we're in constant contact, and we show it to them early on, again, to include them in the design process, talk about what would work, what wouldn't work, as much as we can.
How about owners, the other owners? How do you see, has it become more acceptable to do this program than it was 3 years ago, 2 years
To
ago?
the extent that it's financeable, depending on how it's structured. But I think what most owners are looking for, kind of going back to the earlier part of the conversation, you have a lot of value add multifamily investors. They're looking to add more beds to a specific building. And frankly, the more beds you're going to have around a common core, you're going to need some kind of operating system, some kind of operator that has domain expertise that can actually properly fill those beds and drive cash flow, drive higher yield than what they would otherwise return.
So now we get to the last question, which relates to how has the investment community looked at the situation? You've been in business 3.5 years. You've raised how much?
$65 million.
Today you have institutional investors.
We do. We're backed by a number of investors, including the founders of Starbucks and Norwest, which is the venture arm of Wells Fargo. So we have a number of institutional investors behind us on the operating company side, and then a whole number of investors on the real estate side as well that back our real estate projects. So it's really been totally different today than it was 3 years ago. 3 years ago, people would look at me like I had two heads and ask me if this was legal. Today, they're asking the right questions. They're asking about layouts, about design, about our leases, about financeability. So the conversation has completely changed over the last 3 years.
And you?
Yeah, there's much more of an acceptance. Whereas I think a few years ago, co-living was a scary term. Now, especially with the Share NYC program, it's now clearly has a lot of credibility. Our investors are strategic real estate groups, and we have there's a plenty of demand from on the asset side from LP groups that are looking to capitalize our deals. And one of our products actually just traded.
How do you go into this business? How do you learn about it as an owner?
From a co-living perspective, we had heard about, I think I read about Common, and they were looking for beds, and we were looking for them. So, I mean, that's how it happened. I think I met with the head of real estate, and they said, well, you know, this is how the building would operate if you operated, and then this is how it would build if we operated.
So now I'm going to ask the
Of course
last
it makes
question.
sense.
You know, this is what's happening today in the co-working building. Tishman Speyer is running their own business, as they're doing it over there. Why don't you go into the business?
I mean, these guys do it much better than we do. You know, that there is that ability down the road. I could see more owners competing like they do with the WeWorks of themselves. That's something that they, you know, so the membership and the brand name that these guys are cultivating, that's going to be valuable. So it's, you know, who knows if we'll be able to solicit that kind of scale of people in the waiting list.
I think you'll start to see some owners definitely move into the space. I just think that they're, you know, if you counted all of the largest institutional owners, you know, in New York, for example, it's still a fraction of the inventory in the market.
I will conclude with a comment I heard from Sam Zell speaking at the University Club when somebody asked him the question, what's he thought about co-working? And he said, I hate it, okay? And then the other guy said, why do you hate it? And he said, Starbucks, okay? Because, you know, it could be replicated by using a Starbucks. Okay, this isn't going to be replicated because, as we said at the beginning of the show, this has been around for years. It's just become more sophisticated and more institutionalized. And I'd like to thank Brad, Zach, Andrew, and Albert, and I'll see you next week.